What's up, everybody? It's Lorenzo with Link Creative. Welcome back to another episode of Link Live. Episode 5 today. If you are just getting started in business, you're getting into investing, you're learning about real estate, you're going to find a ton of value in today's episode. We're welcomed with none other than Cam Olivera. At just the age of 19 years old, Cam dropped out of college to pursue wholesale real estate. In just the past 4 years, has been able to found his own company, Sherman Property Experts, where he's been able to generate over 8 figures in revenue over those 4 years. Also helping thousands of students through his social media following. Cam has been able to amass hundreds of thousands of followers over Instagram, TikTok, and other similar platforms. Again, I'm super excited for this episode. Thank you so much again to Cam for doing this. Without further ado, let's get back into Link Live. We're joined by Cam Olivera. I'm really excited for this episode. We've only become recent friends, but I think that there's so many relatable things that we were just talking about off camera, off pod, that a lot of people are going to get some real value out of. So I'm really excited to dive deep into this one. Cam, why don't you start just telling people a little bit about yourself, background, upbringing. My goal throughout our conversations is to really take people throughout your life up until like right now.
I got you. Yeah, no, I appreciate you for having me here. I thought it was pretty ironic that I saw you on your birthday at, what was that, Kashmir the other day? That was a fun night,
Yes,
first
sir.
off. But yeah, Cameron Olivera, 23 years old. I do wholesale real estate, been doing it since I was 19 years old. I guess you could say, posted a couple of videos on social media, grew a bit of a following, decided to start also helping people get into this industry of wholesale real estate. And, I have a couple other business ventures that kind of tie into my wholesale operation. And that's, I guess, a little bio about me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to us, take us back now. Little Cam grew up in Huntley, you said. What was your upbringing like? What were you like interested in as a kid? And what are some early childhood memories that you think of that kind of shaped who you are now?
I like to say I have like a really vivid memory from when I was a little kid. I'll bring shit up that I remember that most people would be like, how do you even remember that? So like, I guess what I remember from my upbringing is that, my parents just wanted me to like live a free, happy life, stress-free. They didn't want to ever like put stress onto me. Like growing up, I always thought like, we're good, we're chilling, very friendly, family oriented. We had like a, big neighborhood friend group that we always like got together with on a, almost day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis. Like to, do Sunday dinners with the family. So like, nice. I'm very like friendly and like family oriented. But I guess, like my mindset growing up, I guess I just wasn't quite aware like of what the possibilities were that were out there. But something that I was kind of reflecting on the other night was like, I always knew like in the back of my head, like the way that my parents kind of like, they weren't able to like show me like what's like crazy success could be through like their own lives. Like at the end of the day, like, they just wanted to like make sure I was like able to do the things that like most kids were able to do while also kind of still figuring their own shit out themselves without even like letting me know that. So like rather than them like making like a, what do you call it? Like a huge role model of like what to be in life and like what the possibilities are through themselves. It's like they would have me like be like 5, 6 years old or even like 10 years old. Like we'd be watching like Michael Jackson performing something like on TV and like they'd be like, oh, go Michael, go dance around in front of us, do your little dancey dance in front of us. So I feel like that's how I was able to get like a sense of like what possibilities are out there. Like, damn, like look at all these people on TV like praising this guy Michael Jackson. Like I want that. Like I want to be something like that. So like a little bit of that, and then like my parents would, like the old like Danimals like yogurt thingies, and it'd be like, oh, the Zach and Cody sweepstake, like come be an actor. So like that's when I like just get in my head like, like I want to be like somebody like big one day in a sense. So like I was a little bit more delusional with it when I was like little, I guess you could say, like always saying like, oh, I'm gonna be famous, like I'm gonna be somebody one day, like people are gonna like know who I am kind of thing, just through like those little things of like my parents hyping me up, like dancing in front of like a Michael Jackson on the TV, and then just like little things like the Zach and Cody sweepstakes, like, oh, I'm gonna send my pictures in and I'm gonna be on Zach and Cody. So like I'd really hype myself up on those things. And I guess like as I kind of like went through life, life kind of catches up and you start to get a sense of reality and like what is possible, quote unquote, based off of like the perspective of like everybody else that's around you. So I guess you can say those like inspirations or like the possibilities of those becoming true started to slowly dilute as I like gotten older, just from being a kid, living life, knowing like what's realistic and like sticking to social norms and things of that nature. But I always kept that in my back pocket that like I know I'm like different. I know I'm not like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I know like someday this will benefit me in some sort of way. And it was just about like finding some sort of opportunity that was able to like get me there. And like I did trial and error with everything. I remember being like 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, looking up on Google, like jobs that are hiring 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. Cause I just wanted to make money. You know what I mean? Like I knew that's what I wanted to like, I needed to just make some sort of income and I can't just keep asking mom like, hey, can I get $10 for a McDonald's so me and my friends can go do something? So like, I was always like driven to like support myself. Cause like I see how like my parents were able to support themselves and support us. And then even just like getting older and like really figuring shit out, like being in the real estate industry and being able to like look into like county records or like the recorder of deeds on homes and seeing like the amount of shit that was on my family's deed and like the shit that like was just getting recorded on there. I was like, damn, like we were going through some shit when I was growing up. Like my mom was my lunch lady. My dad was a manager at Portillo's. I'm like, that's life. Like, you know, that's what you do. And then obviously once I got into real estate, I like looked into our own deed of our house and I was like, damn, like 2008 wrecked us. Like how were we even able to like stay in that house? But they just like didn't even make it known to me. They just like let me live stress free. They didn't try to like pounce on me.
You from that.
Yeah. They weren't like, we're broke, you need to stick to this line. Like they would do anything that they could. They're like try to beat around the bush. I'm like, oh, I want to play football this year. They'd be like, oh, you missed the deadline. And it's like, no, I didn't. There's kids signing up right now. What do you mean we missed the deadline? Little do I know, like we just can't fucking pay for that shit right now. I don't know if I'm able to swear. My bad, family.
No, you're good. You're good. Sports. Did you play a lot of sports growing up? Did that play a role in kind of your upbringing at all?
So like when I was in like first grade or kindergarten, my parents put me into like they got me into like a dance crew. So like I don't know if you've ever heard of like Dance Force Studios out in Huntley. They had like a little D crew of just like a bunch of like guys and girls that had like their own separate dance teams and whatnot. So I did that growing up, and like I guess that kind of like ties into like me seeing like, oh, like I'm gonna be someone someday, because like me being like the littlest one there, like being on the dance team and whatnot, all these girls around, like me being just like a little toddler basically, and like the attention I'd get, I'd be like, oh, this is gonna like fuel something one day. But yeah, I did that until like third or fourth grade, just being on like some like little dance team and whatnot, doing competitions around with, you know, a group of guys in elementary school. And then like in middle school, started doing football, did wrestling and football up until like freshman, sophomore year of high school. And then just kind of started to gear towards finding a job, trying to support myself, you know, take on those priorities.
Yeah, you said a little bit ago, you started to kind of have more of a mature understanding, maybe around 13, 14, 15 years old, of like what you wanted to do, and the money route being serious
more
to you.
More so high school, I'd say.
Yeah,
more so high school.
What were some of those early jobs that you were doing that everybody starts off?
I was washing dishes at 15 years old at Bistro Wasabi, making like $8 an hour, working like Friday and Saturday. And like I'd get there at like 5 p.m. and I'd stay there till like 2 a.m. like just washing the floors, dishes, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But even then, like I was still so like unaware of like the options that were out there. Like it would piss me off almost, because like I'd see like on YouTube, there's this 4-year-old kid reviewing toys, making millions of dollars each year, and it's like I can't figure something out for myself. So like I'd start to get a little upset on like those things and whatnot, and like it would kind of mess with my head, I guess. But like I was just very, I don't know what the right word to say, but like just kind of like your typical person, normie. Like I remember sitting in math class so vividly before like I was aware of like the possibilities that were out there, like searching up in math class, like what is the average, you know, income of an American, or like household income. It's like $75,000 a year. And then I'd like question myself and be like, or I'd go on Google and be like, well, what do I need to do to go to school for only 2 years but still make $75,000? And it was like dental hygiene. So I was like, I'm going to become a dental hygienist. Like, and I even like went to school and started taking steps in that direction to go to college for that stuff. So like I was really not aware, and like I still kind of had like a closed mindset of like the possibilities that were out there up until like senior year, freshman year of college, like senior year of high school, freshman year of college.
Okay. Yeah, you segued right into my next part. You obviously kind of figured it out early on. You mentioned college probably wasn't right for you. You knew you were already meant for bigger. What was that inflection point dropping out? What were kind of the conversations around doing it? Were your parents supporting that? Was it chaos behind the scenes? Talk to us a little bit about that time period in your life.
Yeah, so that really started, I'd say, like senior year of high school. I was introduced to like day trading and like, oh, you can make money off of your phone from clicking a couple buttons and
Yeah.
you can make profit. I was like, sign me up, like, because my brother went to Whitewater College, and I'd go up there, visit him from time to time, and like add some of his friends and whatnot on Snapchat. And I'd see like they're posting these charts and like we're making money, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but like let me get in on this. And then that's when my mind really started to open up to like the possibilities of like you don't have to stick to the code or the social norms of like college, get a job that you love for the rest of your life and work that for the end all be all kind of thing. I started to like get a sense of like flexibility and being able to do like damn near anything that you want to do at the end of the day. But like going and seeing them trading, making money off of their phone really opened up my mind of like the possibilities. And so like, since that was the first thing that like I like was able to grab as far as like a possibility of financial freedom, I just took it and ran with it. So like senior year of high school, I'm trying to like learn everything, fundamentals of trading and all that stuff. Going into freshman year of college, I even joined like a group. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. I don't know if you've heard of like IML or IM Academy. It's like a Forex trading community.
Maybe. Yes.
I got pitched on it and I was like, yeah, you guys are going to teach me how to trade? Like, let's run it. Like, I'll join. What does it cost? Damn, $250 a month. Like, shit, whatever. Like, let's try that out. And then they taught me mindset stuff and like how to shift your paradigm in your mind, the hoorah stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then I guess with that, that's when like I was like, just like, I'm gonna be a millionaire one day. Like that's when my mind flipped. I was like, I finally found something. I'm gonna be a millionaire one day. Like I'm gonna make this happen. They even have an option to where you can build a team of traders with you to learn with you. It's really just like a pyramid scheme MLM kind of thing. Like,
is this the videos, maybe TikToks I've seen of like people in someone's living room, like sitting in a circle? There's like one guy being super like inspirational, but it's all, everybody's just like kind of
repeat after me. I am.
Yeah.
Rich. And it's like, no, you're not yet. But say it until I was a part of those groups and whatnot. But like I took it as serious as I possibly could. Because like I was just like delusional to the fact that is a possibility to make income because I saw other people doing it. So I was like, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And I never really saw too much progress with it. Like I got like funded trading accounts and I was able to pass some sort of thing. It's called like FTMO, and I got approved for like $100,000 trading account. But if I lost like 5% of that account, then like they just got rid of it. But like I was able to take some sort of profits with that. So blew that account. Trading didn't work out. Building the business of like signing people up and like building a team and like mentoring people. Nice. That didn't work out. And I just like, I even like had a full team of like 40 people underneath me of like trying to get the MLM shit going, the whole pyramid, I guess you could say, going. And then just like what's it called? COVID hit my freshman year of college, and then they needed everything to go online. So with this new idea of trading and building a team that way, and COVID hitting, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put my chips on myself. I'm gonna double down on this. I'm gonna drop out and see how it goes. Parents, they weren't too happy about it. But like I said, going back to just like me being a child, like they always kind of let me be fluid and, doing what I wanted to do, but also making sure I was making the right decisions and like being smart, but also like not boxing me in too much to where I can't go out and make my own mistakes, if that makes sense. For sure. So they didn't like the idea. I kind of did it on my own. I even have a video on my Snapchat memories of me just clicking drop class. And then I sent it to my mom and she's like, what the hell, Cameron? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't do online school. Like they need everything to be online. I got this opportunity here. I'm going to double down on it and see how far I can take it. And again, that shit hit the fan, but yeah, so like I didn't even know anything about real estate, wholesale real estate whatsoever once I dropped out. So luckily enough, I did find wholesale real estate. I don't really know where I would be at this time if like I never found that. I'd just be like a college dropout trying to find the next, little way to get rich quick kind of thing.
With the trading stuff, what was the breaking point of that being like, this is not it. This is not going to happen for me? Just
like, I guess like my like end all be all goals, vision for myself, and even just like the lifestyle of a trader I didn't really align with it that well. getting up at 6:30 a.m. to trade New York session, and making sure you can control your emotions to the fullest, like knowing when to go in, when to pull out.
Right.
I wasn't too good with that stuff, and like being tired as hell. I'm not even that much of a morning person, so like I guess like I just started to doubt those things. And then what was really the breaking point was just seeing everything's always greener on the other side. You know what I mean? So seeing my business partner today, who's still my business partner, I was 19 at the time, he was 17, and he's posting on Snapchat, $10,000 check, $20,000 check. And I'm like, what the hell is this kid doing? Like, he's still in high school, 17 years old, posting these checks that like I guarantee most people in our area have never seen in their life, like a straight $20,000 check to their name. No way nobody's like seen that in Huntley. Maybe they have, I don't know. But I was just, like I said, grass is greener on the other side. This isn't quite working out. Let me see what he's got going on over here. So
Right.
I guess you could say that was like the breaking point of like why I stopped trading. Was one, it really wasn't giving me any sort of result for me to like go out, move out, be at where I am today kind of thing.
Right.
And also I just saw another opportunity where I think that if I really went in, if I gave the same energy that I was giving to the trading stuff, I think that I would be able to get like 10 times the result.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the breaking point.
For so many people, it just comes down to like trialing things, testing things. It's obviously evident that you were able to, I hate the word fail even in this environment, but like fail early on to kind of figure out some of those things, which is crucial, obviously. But okay, so that part is over. What's your introduction then to wholesale? And we'll kind of talk a little bit later about the different segments or channels within real estate, right? There's so much noise out there, especially with socials now. Real estate's the number one wealth driver and wealth builder in America, which is true. But there's so many different lanes to that, of what people are doing. But started off, like, what was your intro to it, your early stages?
Yeah, so like I said, the guy that the 17-year-old, my partner, who was my partner today, I wasn't really close with him. I knew of him. I had some good hometown friends that like I've known my entire life that were pretty good friends with him. So like it was like kind of the introduction with him, I guess you could say. But yeah, he's 17. He's closing these deals, and I don't even know really what it is fully. But like I'm delusional. I'm just trying to like become financially free one way or the other. So like I'm like, hey, like I hit him up on Snapchat. Can you show me the ropes to this? Like, what is this that you're doing? He's like, yeah, come over. I'll show you what it is that I'm doing. And, you can do it on your own. I was like, cool. Like, I went over to his house. I'm like, what is it that you're doing? He's like, wholesale real estate. We're putting properties under contract at a discount, selling the contract to an investor, making the difference. I'm like, easy enough. Let me get a crack at this. So he whips out the dialer. I start cold calling for the first time I find out about this. And, I'm ripping the dialer. Somebody answers. I'm following the framework, the script. I get through a couple of the conversations. The day's over. He's like, dude, like, you're honestly solid for your first day. Like, come back tomorrow and like, let's do this again. I come back the next day and so on and so forth. And eventually he was just like, bro, like, you're committed to this. I'm committed to this. Like, let's come together. Let's see how far we can take this. And, that was kind of my introduction with it. And then, we're just rolling with the punches. This is probably like January 2021 is when I really dove straight into it, through the trading, the Forex shit to the side.
Perfect timing, by the way, with the market of that
exactly.
time.
No, it's crazy. The price differences from when I first started and, what they are today. But yeah, just cranking away at it every single day. And like, I was still even confused on certain things. I'm like, okay, what do we do this day now? Like, it's a new day. What do we do now? He's like, dude, we need to get a deal under contract. Like, same shit, like repetition. Let's keep it going. I'm like, okay, so we're just dialing. We'll go out to, the south side of Chicago, go get like a list of like 1,500 addresses. We went to the south side of Chicago 7 days in a row for like 4 hours each day, just building up addresses of a bunch of like rundown homes. And we went out back to our hometown. We would drive like 2 hours each day because of traffic. How 90 gets.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then we go home, skip trace that list, and just rip through that list until we were able to finally get our first deal under contract. Netted us like $5,000 after like 4 months. It's crazy. Like, I look at that now, I'm like, oh my God, if I did a $5,000 deal, like, I'd be like, what did I do wrong? But then I was like, holy shit, $5,000 to my name. Yeah, it was insane.
For people that don't understand, explain exactly like the wholesale side of what you do, start to finish, in simple terms, so people can get an idea.
Yeah, gotcha. So the way that I do it, I run like direct to seller marketing campaigns to where we'll get a list of houses, whether that's pre-foreclosure, vacant homes, tax delinquent, you name it, probate, driving for dollars list. Even if like we go out and build the list ourselves, we'll take that list, we'll find the phone numbers to those homeowners, we'll just call them, come to an agreement on a price if they are looking to sell their home. And then we'll put that property under contract as if we are actually going to be the ones to purchase it. So that purchase and sale agreement is a legally binding contract, like me signing that saying I'm buying it and they're selling it to me. Seller can't go around my back. I can't just back out of the deal going against the terms in the contract. So it's a legally binding contract. I own the rights to buy the home. So with that contract, I just assign the rights to another investor. So let's say I put a property under contract at $100,000 and I find an investor that's willing to pay $110,000. I'll just assign that contract for that 110. The buyer will submit their funds into the title company, and then the title company will distribute the proceeds to the seller, the $100,000. The buyer will get the house, and then I'll get that $10,000 difference. So that's the way I do it. There's many ways that you can go about, wholesaling deals or signing contracts, but that's the way that I've stuck with it for the past 4 years.
In your situation, at what point do you as the wholesaler get paid out?
At what point?
Yeah.
Once we just close out. So once the buyer gets their new house, once the seller gets their proceeds, I get the proceeds, for my fee at that point in time as well.
So early on, and I'm sure it could dip into the same, obviously you mentioned the South Side. Who are some of the types of people or types of areas that you guys are targeting?
Yeah. So at first we were definitely just targeting the more higher crime areas with higher neglected homes, areas where, there's a lot of, Section 8 rental properties, because these landlords, we get on the phone with them all the time, and they're just getting to the point where they're done dealing with tenants and stuff like that. So we're just trying to find those characteristics in specific areas to target. And we're just trying to find a motivated seller. It doesn't necessarily mean we need a distressed house. We're just trying to find somebody that's looking to sell fast rather than listing on the market for cash at a discounted price. Because, at the end of the day, these sellers could go list their home on the market and, get the highest and best price. But some people are just in situations where they need somebody like a cash investor or a wholesaler to help them essentially broker that deal to where they find our service, I guess you could say, more valuable than listing it with a realtor on the MLS or things of that nature.
Yeah, I was going to say something that comes to mind. What are the top characteristics of the people then that do deals? Do you guys strapped for cash? They're right timing? What do those characteristics look like?
There's been cases where, they inherited a property. Hey, a family member of mine passed away. I don't need this.
Yeah.
I'm way too busy to do walkthroughs with my realtor and all this stuff, and be in the loop. I'd rather just find someone that can just buy it cash, get it off my hands, close in the next 7 days. So that's how my second wholesale deal went. It was a owner of a property. It was inherited to him. And he was in a whole different state. He lived in Arizona. So he didn't want to fly out here, do the whole shebang with a realtor, pictures and all this stuff, pay them their cut and all that good stuff. He's like, yeah, if you guys can close in the next 7 days, I'll definitely take it for 70% of what it's worth. Obviously not word for word what he says, but it's I'm willing to take this if you guys can give me this. So it's, in a sense, it's an exchange of value in a way. It's hey, we're able to, not cure, we're able to help your needs and wishes, or make a offer that kind of curates your needs and wishes. And, obviously we're able to get its discounted price to make a profit on there.
Got it. I think you're kind of alluding to it already, but I was going to ask you, what are the main benefits of wholesaling versus some of the traditional areas that people talk about within real estate?
I mean, I guess to start with, you don't need a certification. You don't need a degree. You don't need a license. It's one of the few businesses to get it started. The startup costs are less than $500.
I was gonna say, what are your main expenses going into?
So it's obviously different now. We have an overhead that I never thought that we'd be at now, looking back 4 years ago. But at first, all you're paying for is data if you are, or unless you're just going driving for dollars, building your own list. You got to skip trace them for numbers. Those can range from 17 cents a skip trace or even 10 cents a skip trace, depending on where that is. But, and then you need to keep things organized on a CRM, which we weren't at first. We were just in Google spreadsheets, but it's mainly just the softwares and tools that you need just to make your life more convenient. You don't need money. I've seen people close deals investing $0, $0. I explain it like cooking. It's you can use money to buy certain things to make cooking easier, or you can go the old traditional route and plant seeds and make things with your hands, or light a fire and do it that way. So that's kind of the way I explain it. But the best way I would say to see the soonest results as a beginner with the least amount of startup costs or monthly overhead, $500 first month. Every month after that, maybe $300 monthly for subscriptions. But I mean, like, think about it. Like, we're talking about an overhead like that for like each transaction to be upwards of $10,000 to $20,000. So like, I thought it was a no-brainer at first, honestly. It's like, I don't need to invest in starting a website, developing a brand, hiring employees, all this stuff. Like, I can be a one-man show.
Sure.
Yet one-man show, no degree, no certification. You know, I can have a overhead of $300 each month. And as long as I put in the sweat equity, you know, my first transaction can be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. So that's kind of like the entry-level way to
get... The upside's there.
Yeah.
Something that comes to mind though, right? I think we were talking about this off camera as well. There'll be some younger individuals that maybe listen to this podcast, see a clip. There's so many different money building videos circulating throughout socials, and they be like, oh wow, this sounds easy. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Everybody's so used to instant gratification with the new world of tech and social. What are some of the common misconceptions you would say that either make people quit early on or that will deter people from potentially getting to the point that you're at now?
You're saying like, what are like the most common misconceptions of wholesaling?
Yeah, like what are
I'm trying to think.
What are the main things that knock people out of the game, or why people fail at doing it or kind of give up?
They don't stick with it, honestly. Like that. Because you just got to stick with it. Like, wholesaling is not something that's going to pay you in the next 30 days, 60 days. Granted, there's been deals where like I was calling, I generated a lead, and I got paid out on it 7 days later, which is a very, very rare occurrence. And I'm surprised that was my second wholesale deal ever. But like, it's a rare occurrence. I tell people, like, if you stick with it, you can see results within like your first 90 days. Like that's the expectation that I set for everybody. But common misconception, like that's the biggest thing that I say is like, you just got to stick with it. You know, I guess the biggest misconception is that, you know, you're going to start dialing through this and everybody's going to be all happy and nice to you on the phone. No, you're calling them completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
Asking about a house that you want to buy.
That they're not necessarily even selling.
That they're not necessarily even selling. It's not on the market. So like, knowing that there's a little bit of skills that has to come with it. And I guess it's just like common sense and like knowing what you're getting yourself into. But I guess like when it comes to misconceptions, I don't know, you need a license to do this, you need a degree, you need to know everything about the business before you get started with it, like all that stuff. Like I guess it's more or less like people think they need to know everything in order to get going with this. Like that's a huge misconception actually, now that I think about it. Like people think they need to know everything about real estate, renovation cost.
Right.
They need to build a buyer's list first, or all of these other things that like really do not matter. It's as simple as get your list, start calling, come to an agreement with the seller, sell that contract.
Right.
In simple terms. But like most people just like you said, get those misconceptions of whatnot, of like everything that they need to know to get going with it. But it's as simple as like, just start.
Half the battle is consistency. I think like with any business too, like people think they need to be so protected, be so prepared with the perfect logo and the perfect website and so forth. You know, you just have to like get out in the field and start doing it. To that point too, like what were the either like current or early statistics in terms of like how many people were you guys dialing? Like how many people did you go through until you got your first yes? Like some of that stuff.
So yeah, I wish we were tracking those numbers when we first started off, because wholesale real estate, it's all a numbers game at the end of the day. Like there's even industry standard numbers that like, you know, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but like if you get 50 people to tell you I'm interested in selling, like just based off of not only my business's numbers, but other, you know, wholesaling businesses that I've, you know, talked with, like you generate 50 leads, you're going to get a deal signed. So like if I would have known those numbers, I would have been tracking everything from the jump. But I always like to say it's like a 10% rule. Like you're going to get in contact with like 10% of the people you're calling out to, and 10% of that 10% are probably will be interested in selling, you know, their home. And then kind of just backtracking those numbers. Like if you think about it, then you got to be making upwards of like 5,000 to 10,000 calls just to get your first contract secured. I didn't know those numbers. I'm just like, I call until I get a freaking deal at the end of the day.
It's just natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of my early jobs and first corporate jobs were straight like smile and dial kind of positions when I was working for a wealth advisor firm, and it was all a numbers game. You had a minimum amount of dials. This amount of people were going to answer. You were calling this type of person. If they said X, then you did Z. But no, it's funny. What are some of the normal objections that you're hearing usually that you're able to like kind of break after a certain amount of time?
Simple as like, what's your offer? Like you called me. I didn't say I wanted to sell.
Then people start to get like defensive, like they're on
Exactly.
they're on the offense then, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
they try to flip it on you.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And it's like, well, you're not having this conversation for any sort of like reason.
Yeah.
Like, what has you thinking about wanting to sell? Like, why are you even considering this? And if you were to sell, what options have you considered previously, or you haven't even thought about it? It's more or less just finding that person that's actually serious about selling. It's like, yeah, like I'm moving out of here. My son's been living in this house rent free for the past 2 years. He's going to be moving out of there soon. I'm in Florida. I need to think fast. I don't want to just keep paying on a property that I'm not even getting rent on. So like this house is literally taking money out of my pockets. It's not making me any money. And then it's like, okay, well, it's kind of like, I like to like pre-handle objections, and not to get into like a whole sales spiel or anything like that, but you can pre-handle a lot of the objections in the beginning so you don't even get hit with them down the line. So like I always ask people, like, who do you need to talk with first before you accept an offer? What do you need to figure out first before you can accept an offer? Because if you don't ask those questions and then you go to make the offer, they're like, yeah, I got to go talk to Bobby, who was my realtor 10 years ago, and I value their opinion. It's like, damn, if I would have just asked that previously, Bobby could have been on the phone with us and we could have like discussed it here. Like, what do you need to figure out before you can actually sign a contract with me? Obviously not word for word saying that, but if you don't ask that, they might be like, oh, okay, gotcha. Well, I just need to get a couple things moved out of there first, and then we can talk numbers and whatnot. And it's like, I would have included that in my offer. I'd be like, I'll pay for all of the moving expenses. Let's get this deal going ASAP. So just like pre-handling objections so you don't get hit with them down the line. Because if you make an offer and they're not ready to accept it, you shot yourself in the foot.
For sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That makes sense.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No. Yeah,
I was just kind of rambling there.
It did. No, I like the sales process stuff, obviously, for me. But from what you were doing 4 years ago compared to now, how have you guys upped the game? And I know you work a lot with your partner and alongside other individuals now. I guess that's maybe the answer to the question a little bit, but how have you guys like refined strategies, upped the quality in which you guys are performing, the type of people you're surrounding? I'm sure the archetypes and the demographics of the people you were targeting 4 years ago are maybe not the same now. So how has that kind of like expanded?
Yeah, I'd say that they are pretty similar, but I guess like what changed, and maybe I think I understand your question, but like the biggest thing is like we just like actually got mentorship. Like instead of like trying to do everything on our own, we actually like started to follow the footsteps of somebody that's done it in the past.
Sure.
And just like really keeping stuff simple, direct, straight to the point, and just like knowing, like if you're trying to do something, there's probably somebody out there that's done it, been through the issues, had to go over all these hurdles that you can pretty much avoid. So I think that was the biggest pivot, was really being able to put our pride to the side and being like, all right, somebody's out here that's done it before I did, and I can probably avoid the same mistakes that they've already made. So the biggest thing that changed was actually documenting processes for anything and everything. If you're doing one thing and eventually you want to like outsource what it is that is, create a process so it's copy and paste for somebody else to follow. Not only just for like somebody else to come in and be able to follow, but also so you know what processes that you're following yourself. Like you're not getting off track or like adding in one little thing that's going to mess up the process. You know what I mean? So I think just documenting everything that we're doing and getting rid of all the BS and making sure we can refine all the good stuff that's just going to keep pushing the needle forward and help us get deals faster, get conversions rate lower, and things of that nature. I think, again, from 4 years ago to today, we're very data driven. Like before, we made 1,000 dials today. Whoop-de-doo. We didn't know how many leads we generated, don't know how many leads we qualified. Like all these like very like precise things that we like just track to a T, because 4 years ago, every decision that we'd make, not even looking at the numbers, it was essentially just like an emotional decision.
Right.
There was no logic or numbers behind it. Whereas today, we can look at the data and make data-driven decisions that are a little bit more logical. So I think that's like the difference from 4 years ago to today. And in terms of like the demographic of like the people that you can say that like is our target of, like our target customer or target client, whatever you want to call it, the homeowners.
Yeah.
Not too much has changed in that aspect. I mean, we're looking for motivated sellers that, want to sell fast for cash, that, value speed, essentially, regardless of whatever situation that they might be in.
What's the approach with like keeping this local versus going out into different regions or markets within the U.S.? Is that something you guys entertain, or is it's more so you're your advantage is the home base.
So yeah, we always thought we wanted to like really hone in on Chicago, really build up something crazy here, and have it be our own thing here in Chicago.
Right.
And just try to get as many deals closed as you possibly can. We've come to a realization like closing like 15, 20, 30 deals a month in one market can be pretty freaking tough. But we're really good at closing 5 deals, 7 deals each month, in one market. So then we were like, okay, well, let's try Pittsburgh. We kind of like threw a shot in the dark. Let's try marketing out in Pittsburgh. We're going to do it completely virtually. We're going to have no boots on ground there, really. Eventually, we found an agent and whatnot that we were able to, have be our boots on ground and whatnot. But it's the same thing, honestly. And like, that's what we kind of realized is like, dang, if we can close 7 deals here, 7 deals here, and like, let's add in another market. Well, there we go. Now we're hitting like our goal of 20, 21 deals each month.
Right.
It just took us having to go out into other markets to, make things happen. Dude, Chicago's a tricky market. I'm honestly so grateful that we started off in Chicago because there's a reason why it's got its nickname of Crook County, not Cook County. Because like, oh my God, the amount of BS that we have to deal with on a regular basis with like what comes back on title.
Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what are the headaches? What are the problems?
The biggest headaches is that like the city of Chicago will, for instance, okay, we're in touch with a homeowner that has had this property vacant for the last 15 years. No one's lived there. How is the water bill $130,000? Nobody's lived there. So not only are we not able to get the deal done because the water bill is so high, who the hell is going to be able to buy that home? That house is going to sit there until the city finally does something with it, tears it down, does it on like some sort of auction or whatever the case may be.
Right.
It's just like, it's BS that like how some things work that way with the city of like the water bill being so high or like the taxes and like certain things and like random stuff popping up on title and whatnot. And like, you'd be surprised. Like you'll get to like the day before closing and, oh, we found this judgment, under the books. Oh, $50,000 out on it. Deal's dead. And it's like, holy shit. And then we get over to Pittsburgh and we got our realtor that we're working with, and it's like, oh, title's clear, we're ready to close, and it's like, what? Like how? Like we just submitted the contract like last week, like we're good to go, we can close. And you're like, yeah, like buyer submitted the funds and everything. It's like, holy shit. So like, just knowing that like we got started here in Chicago, having to go through all the BS, like it made it so refreshing to go to other markets and like, no, it's really not that tough in other markets.
For sure. I think, I don't remember the saying, it's like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I think that's the same about Chicago.
That's a saying? I've never heard that, but I
think it is. But
I would easily say that for Chicago without a doubt in my mind.
Chicago's hard. It's very dynamic, very, very versatile, but the city itself has so many structural issues that I think oftentimes affects other businesses then, which is obviously the case.
I got to love-hate with Chicago for sure. But
I know.
I love Chicago. I don't want to be anywhere else.
No, it's the best city. But all right, let's pivot a little bit here because there was obviously another massive inflection point with what you were doing and then documenting what you were doing through video and such. How far into the wholesale journey and the entrepreneurial journey did you start to put what you were doing on display and stuff like that?
I would say, what was it? I got started January 2021, went through, I think maybe, I want to say 2022, like mid 2022, around like July is when like, I just kind of woke up one day and I forgot what I saw online. It was somebody saying like, if you have a skill set that is a cool skill set and like you think people could possibly value your expertise or your craft within that, like if you have a cool craft, essentially put that out for people to see and who knows what can come with that. Number one, if you're not doing it, you're missing out on maybe another income source. And number two, you're just kind of being selfish. Like, who knows? Like, if you're good at cooking, show people that online. Who knows? People might like your recipes and you might be able to find some sort of love with that. So I think like I just woke up one day and I just like I applied that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I have funny conversations. Like, people wouldn't even imagine the kind of conversations that I have to have with some of these homeowners. So you know what? I'll throw up my phone. I saw some people already doing it previously. Like, they would record their phone calls and I would like watch and I'd be like that was ass. Like, I feel like I could have done that better. So like, rather than me just keep saying like, oh, these people posting these videos, like they don't know how to make good content. why not just like actually put my money where my mouth is and like try it myself essentially. But yeah, I guess like the idea behind it was like I want to record some of my conversations. Obviously, sometimes these are 10, 20-minute conversations, and I got to figure out how to like chop that down. And like the number one thing that came to mind was like, I don't know if you've ever watched like old David Dobrik vlogs, how they were like 4 minutes, really fast paced, like
yeah.
and like just quick chops and whatnot. I kind of just like took that idea to like my cold calls and just like made it to the most like important parts of the cold calls that I was doing.
For sure.
And I just put it out there. And
Nice.
I remember my buddy, my roommate, he was actually, I remember the night I was editing my first ever video. Like he called me to check in, make sure like everything got done for the business that day, the wholesaling operation. I was like, oh, I'm lacking on that a little bit. I'm actually editing up some videos to post online. He's like, bro, like don't get too caught up in that shit. Like focus on what's actually going to be able to make you some money and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of seeing like, who knows? Like what could happen?
Right.
I chop it up. I post it. I wake up in the morning and like I posted 3 videos and they came out to like 1 million views overnight. And I was like, holy shit.
Your first 3.
My first 3 videos. The main one is one that like was at like 1 million views when I woke up, or like 500,000 views. And I was like, holy shit, like people actually like watching these videos. So I just kept doing it. No intentions behind it. Simply just putting out good content that people enjoy, showing my craft. And then eventually one thing led to another where people were just like, dude, teach me. Like I need to know. And I'm like, what the hell? Like I used to clown at all the course sellers, like the fake gurus and all that stuff. I'm like, no way. And I had such a big ego about it at first. Like there's no freaking way. Like I don't want to like become a course seller. Like I did the Forex stuff before. I tried to get people to join my team. Like I already got a taste of that. Like what do you call it? Like being humiliated by like being known as like somebody like that. So like It wasn't even like a thought in my mind to come out with something to help. But then at that point, it's like, dude, you're kind of gatekeeping stuff, and like you can actually have an impact on people's lives, and like I'm starting to realize that more and more now than anything. But yeah, like I never really wanted to like do that side of things. I wanted to just have my craft, do it myself, and then people just started to like really create the demand, like teach me how to do this, like keep making content, like show me what it is.
That was my next question, because I'm also one who hates all of the guru fake BS stuff that's out there. Everybody, making a couple bucks and then end up selling a course. But
Yeah.
Right, in this case, it's something that was natural demand, not like orchestrated in a way, right? Which is where you see, I think, a lot of people get tripped up with it. What's the vision for now? Rinse and repeat?
What do you mean?
What's the vision for the personal brand, socials? Kind of do more of the same?
Yeah, I mean, just keep making videos. I started a YouTube recently where I'm like really putting out like free game onto there. Like I just ripped like a full 3-hour course of like just showing people how to get into this and whatnot. But I mean the vision with it, I mean I love doing deals, with my community. Like the whole process of like selling info was a journey. Like that's a whole nother business that like you got to be good at, because there's so much that goes into like having a coaching offer or a program to help people get into it. So like it was such a process getting that all figured out, from like fulfillment to keeping people coming in and being able to actually help people see results. There was even a point in time where like I started it and I just completely cut it off, and I'm like, this is taken away from my wholesaling business. So like I just completely cut it off, wasn't doing it anymore. And then I just really wanted to create that community again of just like savage wholesalers who are actually doing deals and like not bullshit freaking Facebook groups where like wholesalers are posing as cash buyers. So like that was like the real goal, was like to get like an inner circle. That's what I call it. It's my inner circle community, Shot Callers Inner Circle. And that's essentially where like we teach everybody A to Z how to do this. And like we have a whole coaching program, and it's all set up with like coaches and like my partners and whatnot, and kids that are even closing deals or helping out in there as well. But we have a whole community of like 600 members in there, which is really cool. And I guess the thing with that is just like continuously build that, continuously perfect our craft. Cause like, if I'm not wholesaling, how the hell am I going to keep teaching people how to do that? So like the wholesaling is like the heart of everything. I got to keep wholesaling, got to keep that going.
That's the funny part. That's the thing. People then stop the craft that got them to be able to sell the course to then just double down and sell the course, which just doesn't make sense. But to the people that are buying the course, they are naive to that, truthfully, right? Exactly. With a lot of these people you see. Awesome. Do you feel like the social media presence and the following, stuff like that, and maybe more so that confidence boost that's given you sort of help your drive and the way you are operating within the business?
I think so. Maybe a little bit. Maybe. I think I don't know. Like, I'm just me at the end of the day. Like, I don't
Right.
need like a following or some clout to get me boosted. Like, I feel like the number one question I find that's like one of my worries is like coming off as somebody that I'm not online.
For
You know what
sure.
I mean? So I don't know if this is kind of answering your question or not, but like one of the first few questions that like I'll ask people, like when they will be like, oh, like I've seen your videos online, or like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, it's finally nice to meet you instead of seeing your videos and stuff like this. Like, finally, you know, nice to meet you. I'll always ask, like, from the person you see online to the person that you meet in person, like, is there any sort of difference? Because like I find like that's like a huge, I don't know if what you want to call it, maybe an insecurity of like making sure like I'm
Sure.
the same person as I am in person than online. So like I never really wanted to get big headed about it. Like sometimes I even forget, like, holy shit, like I have 170,000 followers on TikTok, almost 100,000 on Instagram, 14,000 subs on YouTube. Like you know, sometimes it's hard to process in my head, like, holy
Right.
shit, like I was able to do this sometimes. So, like I try to like be humble as possible. Sometimes like even overly humble and whatnot, but it's definitely, there's been some confidence boost, I would say a little bit. I will say the number one thing that it has taught me was like, I know a lot more than I think actually. Like when I get on these free webinars or when I'm doing the coaching calls with my inner circle and like they're asking me these questions and like I'm coming correct with like the right answers that are actually going to like have a huge impact on your life. It really makes you wonder like, holy shit, like I know what I'm doing. Like I know that sounds like crazy to say, but like it's a little nerve wracking to have for people to trust you essentially with them figuring out their financial freedom journey and stuff like that. Can be a little nerve wracking, but once you get into
Right.
it and actually realize like I know what the fuck I'm doing, so like there's really not too much to worry about. And I guess that's where like a little bit more confidence can get boosted from there.
Yeah, I feel that. People probably wrap up so much emotion in what they're doing, but it's hard for someone, or sorry, it's easy for someone like yourself to get so tunnel vision in the daily grind that you have and how much you've accomplished, and then take a step back and reflect and be like, holy shit. And I'm sure there's kids from like random little towns all over the country. Like,
Yeah.
this kid knows 15 people, hasn't been set up with the resources of someone like myself, some of the other people in my network. And like, this is a really, really big freaking deal to them. So no, I'm sure that's a really cool feeling. Anything you want to shout out or announce in terms of like new businesses, new ventures that you have cooking?
There's one. I don't want to speak too much on it just because like it's so early on. We
Sure,
got
you
like
can.
we got it all kind of like jotted down and whatnot, but essentially just trying to number one, grow our own wholesaling business operation and have it just be as scalable as possible. Also making it so what with I'm not going to get too into the weeds of it, but like what we have in mind is something that's number one going to allow anybody in my community to make money way faster. Because ideally, people want to get started with an opportunity and see results ASAP. With
Right.
wholesaling, it's typically around like 60 to 90 days on average. So we want to be able to speed that up for our community members to
Yep.
be able to close a deal 3-4 weeks in, maybe like 5 weeks in fastest, just trying to speed that up. And then also structure it all into a way for it to all tie together to where one day our wholesale operation can actually be exitable, if that makes sense, to where like
Awesome.
I can sell off the business. And also to where, yeah, I'd say that like that's the biggest thing that we're trying to work on right now is really getting everything set in stone to where I can scale this up into something crazy with a lot of team members working with us, like really establishing the founding fathers right now for this new idea that we have, and then getting all the things in place, setting everything up properly to where like a private equity company, once we're doing like $10 million a year, a private equity company will actually take us serious enough
Right.
to give us some sort of a value and some sort of a multiplier to
Right.
then actually exit for millions of dollars. Like that's the real goal right now. That's what we're really trying to work on.
Amazing.
I know it's so far. I never even thought that would be like a business idea in my head looking back, like even like a year ago. But one thought leads to another, and each business kind of plays a role into being able to build that up into something like that.
Yeah. No,
I know
that's
it's very broad, and I beat around the bush a lot, kind of explaining that, but like I don't want to get
feel
too
you.
ahead of
No,
myself.
No, I get you.
And whatnot.
It's good though to have those what feels like at a time unrealistic goals and stuff, or else if you can't dream, you got nothing. But it seems like you guys are on your way. I like to wrap these episodes. I feel like we've been doing it the entire time we've been talking, but you're talking to Cam, you're talking to that 19, 20-year-old Cam again, individuals that are just starting out, whether, they're in college, they want to start a business, they don't feel content within what they're doing, they're confused. What advice are you giving those people right now, present day?
Be as curious and as delusional as possible, honestly. Think outside the box. Like, the social norms and what everybody else, what the masses are doing, you don't have to stick to it, honestly. And like, that's the only reason why I got to where I am today is curiosity and delusion. Because like, I'd say one thing to one person, like, I have this goal in mind.
Right.
You're crazy. You're delusional. Get out of here with that. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to take that into consideration. Like, and another thing, like, I know it's easier said than done, but like, really taking advice from the people that have actually done what you want to do and accomplish in life. And that's something that's hard, because when you're getting advice from a family member or a parent or, a friend that you really, really do respect, and you finally get, you could say, I don't know, vulnerable enough to tell them about your passions, goals, and what you're trying to accomplish in life. And for them to say that's unrealistic, like, think outside the box, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's a little hard to be like, I'm not going to listen to you because you haven't done this in life, because you have so much respect for that person, but really, like, take what people have to say with a grain of salt, unless they have accomplished something that you truly admire and like want to strive for one day.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done, but
no, I resonate with that heavily. I try to keep that same mindset myself, but that
yeah.
that inner belief, that self-belief has to come first before anything, in my opinion. No, but awesome. This was great. I'm super excited we were able to do this. I feel like I got a lot of free game and value out of this conversation myself. So we're gonna have to talk off camera again.
Hell
but Cam, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, bro.
Link Live episode 5.
Let's link.
In the books. There we go. That's it.